Do you remember when you opened your first bank account? It was probably at your parents' local bank branch. For me, that was a First Union that then became a Wachovia that then became a Wells Fargo. So I never really chose Wells Fargo, it just bought out my previous bank. I figured most banks are the same, so what does it matter if there's a new sign out front? I had a Wells Fargo checking account and a few savings accounts. Once I got into my 20s, I also opened up a Roth IRA and a cashback credit card, all through Wells Fargo. It never even occurred to me to look for a new bank. I basically acquired Wells Fargo by opening my First Union bank account when I was 5, several decades ago. So I figured, why change? I understood the account minimums, accepted the low interest rates, and just figured that's as good as it gets. But then something happened that made me look at banking in a whole new way. I got married. My husband is an immigrant, so when he came to the US, he needed to open a new bank account. I, of course, took him to a local Wells Fargo. The banker explained the accounts and the different types of fees that were associated with the account. He told my husband that in order to avoid the fees on the account, you just had to keep $500 in the account at all times. He also asked my husband if he wanted overdraft protection, which is basically a fee that you pay in order to avoid fees if you use all of the money in your account. My husband opened the account because I was American, so he figured I knew what was best. But over the next 6 months, he complained about the account and how impractical it was. He'd tell me, "It's my $500. Why am I not allowed to use it? That makes no sense." I just laughed it off and told him, that's the way it is. Then one day he told me, "I'm closing my Wells Fargo account and I'm switching to Capital One." I thought he was crazy. Switch banks? Move your money? It made absolutely no sense to me, but he did it. Then he told me about the accounts that he had opened. He opened a Capital One 360 checking account and a Capital One 360 performance savings account. So not only did my husband's new accounts have no balance minimums, but they had no fees of any kind. Not even overdraft fees. What's more was the savings account was actually a high yield savings account, which in 2022 was making 4% interest. I had no idea that such a thing even existed. It was enough to convince me to close my Wells Fargo accounts and transfer all of my money to Capital One. I opened a checking account and a few savings accounts, and I was floored when the first interest payments came in. I made the same amount in interest in 1 month with a Capital One account that I did with probably 3 years in my Wells Fargo accounts. And that is not an exaggeration. My Wells Fargo savings account made something like 0.02% interest per year. And if I wanted even 2%, I needed to put $500,000 in. I didn't have that kind of money. Capital One gave me 4% interest with no minimums. Those accounts that I opened several years ago are still the same ones that I use today, and I am so glad that I made the switch. Not only do I make hundreds of dollars per year in interest, which helps my savings grow faster, but I know that I can actually use all of the money sitting in my accounts, and I don't have to hold some of it to avoid fees, which is absolutely ridiculous. So if you're like I used to be and you think that banking just is what it is and it can't get any better, I hope I've shown you today that you are wrong. There absolutely are better options out there, and with just some minimal work, you really can be getting more out of your bank. Do you have a bank that you love? I'd love to know which ones. Let me know in the comments below. If you liked this video, remember to like and subscribe, and you'll get notifications for my new videos, which come out every Wednesday.